Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jada if you're new here, and if you're not new here, I'm happy to see you again, but this is my channel, obviously, and on this page I like to talk about true crime and Black history through my podcast, Girl You Haven't Heard, but I also am very interested in reality TV. I guess it's not so secret anymore, but it's like a guilty pleasure of mine. I watch it a lot and I have been watching it a lot since I was younger. So I decided to create this segment where I go over a lot of the reality TV shows that I enjoyed when I was younger and really liked, but didn't really see how problematic they were as I was a child. And now that I am an adult, I can kind of see it through a new lens and realize how problematic they were and how problematic a lot of the things that they did were, the things that they got away with, and the racist stereotypes that were kind of embedded in every single show. But I decided to start off with Dance Moms, and this is actually a series that started over on my TikTok page. I just was expecting to do like a couple of them, but the more of the moments that I watched, the more I was like, ooh, there's a lot of really problematic and racist moments in this show, and I really want to talk about them. This is part one of my Dance Moms breakdown series, and I will be doing breakdowns of other reality TV shows, but we're gonna start off with Melissa from Dance Moms, who is the mother of Maddie and Mackenzie, who were arguably two of the most popular. There are three specific moments from the series that I want to talk about regarding Melissa. The first one being when Asia and Mackenzie are meant to freestyle against each other. Abby just kind of does it, and Melissa snaps at Mackenzie, which just like adds this unnecessary pressure on her. Then we're gonna get into two of the more racist moments that Melissa had, arguably some of the most racist moments from a parent on the show aside from Jill. One of them is when she tries to paint Asia as a bully, and the other one is when she calls Nia aggressive and blames her for Maddie's injury. So we're going to talk about when she snaps at Mackenzie, and then we're going to discuss the racist tropes, kind of the history, the context, before we get into the other two moments, because I think that's really important into understanding the gravity of exactly what she was doing, whether she knew it or not, and how producers and editors played a huge role in adding to these racist stereotypes and these racist notions of these little Black girls, which was ultimately very harmful. So let's get into it. Before we get into the clips, make sure you subscribe and like and hit that bell notification so you don't miss a breakdown or any of the other amazing content that I'm going to be putting out, because it is just that amazing and very informative, so you get to be entertained and learn something all at the same time. So for context, Mackenzie, up until season 3, was the only young girl. She was the only little one in the show, and in season 3, Asia was brought in, and Asia had a very different style overall, and she was very good. So this put additional pressure onto Mackenzie to be even more perfect than she already was trying to be, and Melissa did not want her daughters to be out of the spotlight for any reason. So she just added unnecessary pressure. So let's get into it.
I'm not sure who's going to get the solo. And I warned them, this is nationals.
I forgot to mention, Abby was putting them up against each other before nationals to see who would get a solo, even though in my full opinion, Asia deserved it, like completely deserved it. She performed and won more competitions than Mackenzie did, and this would ultimately lead to Asia actually getting her own spin-off series because she was so entertaining, because she was so talented. So it should have been like a no-brainer, but they always had to pit the girls against one another.
This is called Dance Doctor. You are going to make it all better on the dance floor. Listen to the music. I'm going to give you a chance to just kind of improv and feel it because it's tough. I have Mackenzie and Asia in here both improving. I want them to feel the music. I want to see what they hear.
Come on, Ken, dance.
So right off the bat, before anyone is even dancing, anything is even happening, she is putting pressure on Mackenzie to perform. Even though she's clearly uncomfortable, she's not really feeling it. She's intimidated by Asia, but also that's not Asia's fault that she's intimidated at all. So this is already playing into a little bit of like the stereotypical Black trope of like Black women and Black girls are intimidating. There's something to be afraid of. You're not supposed to feel comfortable competing or being compared to them.
Asia's won 7 times as a soloist with Abby. Abby likes to win. It would be a no-brainer to put Asia at the nationals.
Then sit, Kenzie. If you don't want to dance, then sit. Then dance.
Like, damn, chill out, Melissa. Relax.
Just dance. Improv.
It's not even like she's being encouraging. She's just literally berating this child for no reason. Goes and grabs her and makes her physically sit down.
Then dance. That's ridiculous. Improv, you're doing it at home all the time. You're adorable. Just do it.
The way she aggressively was like, dance, perform.
Mackenzie doesn't have it. She can't improv on the spot.
Right,
What
you
happens
can't.
when I send you to an audition in LA for some little kid commercial for something and they say improv? You're gonna make me look like a fool.
You're fabulous, Kenzie. You're just not Asia.
You're fabulous, Kenzie, but you're just not Asia. What does that mean? What are you insinuating here, Melissa?
But right now, put on the spot, you failed.
I feel like it's so extremely harsh and unnecessary to look at a child and be like, you failed. Like, that's very harsh. It's very unnecessary. But this was just problematic all in itself because I feel like as a mom, you're supposed to be there and encouraging and uplifting, not making her feel worse, not beating on her, just for Abby to beat on her some more. And then to the end part is what really got me. Like, you're fabulous, Kenzie. You're just not Asia. Like, she knows that. She's aware of that. And it just goes to show that Melissa was already seeing that Asia was going to take the spotlight from her child, and that put her in a very uncomfortable position. Okay, so before we get into the next two moments, I just want to talk about the tropes that Melissa put forth about the Black girls who were in competition with her daughters. Like, no matter what the context was, whenever they were in competition with her kids, she painted them as the sapphire trope. So what is that? Black women and girls in the media and then as a result in real life are often thrown into one of four stereotypical categories, if not all of them. So the first one is the mammy, the second is the sapphire, the third is the Jezebel, and the fourth is the strong, independent Black woman. All of which are caricatures and harmful stereotypes that punish Black women who violate social norms. All of the stereotypes are meant to push them into being passive, non-threatening, and genuinely just overall unseen. These specific four, they were roles that Black women were pushed into during the peak of the slave trade as a way to justify their mistreatment and justify slavery, as well as to commodify Black folks. So after slavery was abolished, these ideals just naturally transferred into television to be seen as forms of entertainment. Now, Melissa consistently painted Black girls into the sapphire role while painting their mothers in the same way as a way to deflect blame onto them rather than checking her own racism. She always tried to target the girls in moments where they are seen more than her daughters, they have more attention than her daughters, or there's the possibility that they will get more opportunities or more rewards than her daughters, things that she feels that her daughters should have. So it's a sense of entitlement. In the two moments that we're going to recap, she makes it seem like the Black girls are intentionally, physically attacking and causing harm to her daughters. She talks about how Nia is aggressive, Maddie isn't a boy and doesn't need to play that rough. She makes it seem like Asia is intentionally dropping a stretching block onto Maddie's foot in order to get a dancing role, to literally beat her out of the competition. She makes it seem as if the two little Black girls in the series are big and aggressive and mean, as opposed to her sweet, dainty, and delicate daughters. So the sapphire trope, it was never just like, yes, Black women are this way. Black women are this way in juxtaposition, in contrast, in opposition to white femininity. So the sapphire trope itself is specifically when Black women and girls are portrayed as rude, loud, malicious, stubborn, overbearing, hateful, aggressive, violent, unfeminine, and overly masculine. It paints them as mean-spirited and abusive, where their main desire is to dominate at all costs. They may also be painted as overly critical, but not to the point of wanting to affect change simply because they are bitter and want to force their unhappiness onto others. So in Melissa's mind, these girls wanted the positions that she thought her daughters were to have, or were getting the attention that she thought her daughters were to have. The popular standard for femininity for white women during the peak of the slave trade was passiveness, fragility, and domestication, all of which did not apply to Black women. Black women were characterized as the exact opposite. And if you listen carefully in a lot of these clips, and I'll point it out as we watch them and recap them, but Melissa often uses language like, we are not. But when she's saying we are not, she is not talking about like all of the girls. She's talking about her and her girls, right? So her and her white children, as opposed to the Black kids and the Black mothers. So she's creating an othering, which is very unnecessary, especially in this context. This sapphire role, though, often has the mammy undertone, which basically just means that the expectation is that in all situations, all contexts, the Black girls and Black women are supposed to look out for and look after others around them, put others above themselves, and they're always supposed to put the feelings of others before their own, even when they are being harmed or being mistreated, or to potentially give up a role that they want for the sake of somebody else's feelings. They're supposed to show that they are not a threat to social order. This stereotype is a bullying tactic meant to intimidate Black women who enter mainstream spaces in order to try and get them to shrink themselves so they won't be faced with backlash, and it often is used as a means of silencing them, even when they have a right to speak out and be angry, or in this context, a right to speak out and get a role or win something. So where does this stereotype stem from? From the 1800s to the mid-1900s, Black women were often shown as sassy mammies who ran their homes very strictly, and they often beat and berated their husbands and their children. An example of a sassy mammy would be Hattie McDaniel, who plays a character literally named Mammy in Gone with the Wind, and Octavia Spencer, who plays Minnie Jackson in The Help. So how did the stereotype of the sassy mammy shift to be the Sapphire as we know it today? The Amos and Andy radio show allowed the characterization of Black women as domineering, aggressive, and emasculating to be associated with the term Sapphire. The radio show was, simply put, a radio minstrel show. Minstrelsy is just getting in blackface or creating a stereotypical racial caricature of Black folks for the entertainment and the humor of white folks. So it was never accurate to what Black people were actually like, and it just created a racist ideal of what Black people are supposed to be like, often painted them as ignorant, as dumb, as easily manipulated, but also as angry and aggressive. So this radio show had an all-white cast from 1928 to 1960 and aired in a television version from 1951 to 1953 with an all-Black cast. Both television and radio versions of this racist minstrel program were popular and well-loved. Now, Black people were aware that minstrelsy and all forms of it were problematic, but oftentimes the only way that they were able to get into the performing arts or careers of that such is by fitting into these racist stereotypes. And this is something that we will get into in further breakdowns on the show when you see the Black girls being forced into racist caricatures of Black folks and other people of color, and they were often told to just suck it up and accept those roles because those are the roles that worked for them. Those are the roles that were best for them. Now, the TV version of this show was focused on George, who was portrayed as an ignorant, race-trading, lazy, get-rich-quick scammer who avoided work and was prone to manipulate others in order to get his way, including his friends and his wife. He was married to Sapphire Stevens, which is where the term Sapphire comes from, who was overly aggressive and often verbally berated him. Another popular and well-loved Sapphire was Tanisha Arnold, who plays Chris Rock's mom, Rochelle, in Everybody Hates Chris. Another popular example of this Sapphire trope is Angela in Tyler Perry's Why Did I Get Married? 1 and 2, played by Tasha Smith, who often fits into the Sapphire caricature in other movies. When young Black women show displeasure at being mistreated or stereotyped, they're often demonized and thrown into the Sapphire category, makes it easy to diminish and dismiss their genuine frustrations, and shuts down any opportunity for them to defend themselves or explain themselves, because the non-Black person who is harmfully categorizing them as such will automatically be believed and not questioned, as they paint themselves as the victim. And that's something that you will see in Melissa in both of these moments that we're going to talk about. All of these stereotypes that we mentioned, the mammy, the Jezebel, the strong independent Black woman, and the Sapphire, negatively affect Black women and girls to this day. They are wrongfully demonized, villainized, and adultified for simply being Black and being a little girl. It unnecessarily otherizes them and opens them up to criticism and harm that would not be placed on them if they were not Black. Okay, so to give some context, the girls are heading to New York to compete in a dance competition, and they also have a segment on The View. Now, Mackenzie allegedly hurt her foot, and it's Asia's fault, she claims, and her mother claims, why she hurt her foot and cannot dance in the competition. But Abby says if you can't dance in the competition, then you can't dance on The View, and Mackenzie wants to dance on The View, and Melissa wants her daughter to dance on The View because that's attention, right? And as we talked about, Melissa wants her daughters to always be in the spotlight at whatever cost. So let's get into the breakdown.
Hey, how you doing? You have to go this weekend. If I leave you at home and you dance all weekend, what if you get hurt again and you're not good for New York City?
This look right here that she gives her mom, it's like, are you listening to this? Can you believe this? You better fix this. Fix it.
Then Asia's gonna be doing The View. Like right now, Asia's rehearsing your spot.
The way that Abby set that up also is just, again, otherizing and putting them against each other, but doing so in a way that Asia is competition. Asia is intimidating. Asia is threatening to Mackenzie.
This is Mackenzie's number, the last text. She deserves to be in the number.
There's a rumor going around.
How does that feel? Melissa must know.
That Melissa's saying, Asia's bullying Mackenzie.
No, Asia just came up to me and she goes, oh, I'm rehearsing the group thing for the View, but Kinsey had Maddie tell me that I was out of it because she's perfectly fine.
But wait, why would Maddie go and tell her that? That's not her job.
Maddie probably said that because her mother told her to. She's not just going to go out of her way to tell Asia she's out of the dance for no reason.
I said, Asia, I said, just wait.
Well, I said, it's Abby's decision, not Melissa's.
Yeah,
This is her team. It's not Asia's team.
Right, I understand, but then let's compete.
But if Mackenzie can't compete, then she can't do the View.
I know you want to dance. I know. Okay.
So one thing that's very, very common for Mackenzie is she cries a lot, which is, she's a child, right? So that's totally fine and totally understandable. I'm not faulting her for crying. But I am going to say that her tears, I feel like it does something to Melissa where she's like, okay, well now I got to step it up and really get my child what it is that she wants.
I don't think Mackenzie should be taken out of the dance. Mackenzie does a round off back handspring. That's all she does. So she needs to let Mackenzie dance.
There's also this sense of entitlement that somehow she should just be given the role when I don't think that's fair, and I don't think anyone thought that was fair.
Mackenzie, they're not competing against each other.
They're competing against each other for the spot on the View. So yeah, they are competing against each other.
I'm really torn who I think should dance in the group dance on the View. I mean, it's not fair to the group to have them practice with Asia and then at the last second throw in Mackenzie.
Is she feeling resentful to Asia?
No.
Oh, and now Asia's a bully? Is Asia being a bully?
No, I want them to resolve this on their own.
It's clear she doesn't really want anybody to resolve anything on their own, because then she wouldn't have brought it up, she wouldn't have talked about it. I really do feel like she was just trying to paint Asia as the bad guy, so Abby would take pity on Mackenzie and give her the spot whether she could do a better job or not, whether she actually deserved it or not. And all of those things were just supposed to go out the window because you felt bad for Mackenzie because of the big bully Asia.
Know how my child's being a bully.
She dropped a block on Mackenzie, dropped a block on her foot on purpose. I'm like, why would a kid drop a block on purpose?
Asia told
The way that Christy Ray just laughs at that moment is everything, because she's like, I know you're lying. I know you're lying, and I know your child's lying too.
Why would a kid drop a block on purpose?
Asia told me that because she knew that's how it would be relayed.
The fact that Asia right away went and told her mom what actually happened because she knew that she was going to be demonized and villainized in this situation, I feel like tells you all that you need to know about the way that Black young little girls were treated on this show. Just horrendous.
She said Kinsey was walking by. When it dropped, when she was picking up, it didn't drop on Kinsey's foot. It hit the side of her foot.
I can say a lot of things about Asia.
That's a very weird thing to say. What could you possibly say about a child? And that's giving like very negative connotation as well. Like, could you say a lot of bad things about her? Because she's a child. You shouldn't have many bad things to say about a literal child who you haven't known for very long.
Things about Asia. I really don't think one of them would be that she's a bully. I just think Melissa is trying to think of any excuse to make Asia look bad.
My child will not pick up a block and just throw it on someone's foot. I mean,
wouldn't think that.
Next. Melissa's being passive-aggressive about the bully comment. I don't know what she's doing, but it makes no sense. I'm not going to argue with stupid.
And that's on period. Christy Ray is not dealing with the bullshit. She's not dealing with the buffoonery that these women like to bring.
There's nothing wrong with it now. It's fine.
Okay, then what's the charade? Compete. She wants to. Get it, get it x-rayed and a doctor's note with a real doctor's note, with an x-ray, with a written, instead of bringing a note and saying 2 weeks rest. I mean, it gets kind of ridiculous.
It honestly seemed like Melissa was just doing whatever she could to make up an excuse for why Asia could have possibly gotten the role over Mackenzie if Abby were to have chosen Asia. And I don't like that. I don't like that. It's giving very much like, I'm going to paint your child as the big bad wolf, so my child is the little innocent one who she didn't get it because she was injured, or some other excuse, rather than Asia was just more talented and deserved the role more. So now we are going to get into the third and final moment that we are going to be watching, recapping, and talking about together. And this is when Melissa calls Nia aggressive and continually compares her to a boy and otherizes, separates Nia from her and Maddie, and puts her all in a group all on her own just to make her seem like the villain in this situation where all of the kids were literally playing this stupid watermelon games. But let's get into it. So for context, Abby invited the girls and their mothers over to her house to have a pool party and decided that they were going to play this game.
The big watermelon game.
You got the biggest watermelon you could find.
That's okay, just go. You put grease all over the watermelon and you throw them in the pool.
It's very weird that Abby just went and grabbed Christy's butt like that and was like trying to throw her in the pool by grabbing her butt. That's very weird to me. It's very weird to me.
The goal of the game is to grab the watermelon and get out of the pool with the watermelon in your hands. They fight like cats and dogs trying to hold on and it keeps slipping out. Come on! Come on, girls! Pull it!
It's amazing. We go to Abby's house and the kids aren't allowed to be kids. It has to be turned into a competition.
Get it!
Now the watermelon just hit her there.
Oh,
Maddie got it.
Run!
That looks like a disaster waiting to happen.
Get up the steps and I'm holding it.
Why don't you just all walk together? All of a sudden, Maddie starts to cry.
I feel like Queen Holly can read minds or something, because she literally said this is just a disaster waiting to happen, and 2 seconds later, Maddie climbs out of the pool and a disaster ensues.
And she says that she was somehow injured. But from my vantage point, I'm looking at the game. Maddie was not hit.
What happened? Tell me.
Now, why would you automatically just assume that it was Nia? All of the girls are in the pool. All of them are trying to grab this stupid watermelon and win this game. Why would you just assume that it was Nia? Also, it is not lost on me that they're playing a watermelon game and somehow Nia is the one that is targeting people over a watermelon. Like, that's giving very racial undertones, and I don't like it. I definitely think that production has something to do with this, but also I don't think that the necessary reflection was there for this moment at all, because this fits into multiple stereotypes, and it's really unnecessary to frame a child in this way.
Stay away from it, because it's ridiculous. You're a girl. You're not a boy.
Nia's pretty rough, but Maddie does not like getting rough at all.
Nia's pretty rough, but Maddie does not like getting rough at all. This is just, it reeks of racism. Like, I'm telling you, it stinks so bad. This just goes to the othering, right? Like, Nia over here is aggressive and she is rough and she is harsh and she will do anything to win, but Maddie is gentle and fragile and delicate.
Come on. It's all swollen.
Maddie cried because she didn't win. She didn't win the stupid watermelon game. Somebody else got 3 seconds of glory in front of 4 moms.
She's all swollen. We're freaking girls, not boys.
So she then goes and tells Brooke, "You hurt me, look." But it was Nia 2 seconds ago. And so Maddie is, obviously she's not clear on who hurt her, if she was actually hurt. I'm not going to say whether she was or she wasn't, because I don't know. Someone easily could have gotten hurt in this situation because they're literally fighting over a greased up watermelon in a pool. But she's not sure who hurt her. And at first she said it was Nia, and then she's saying that it's Brooke, and her mom is still going on and on because she thinks that it's Nia that hurt her. And so she says, "We're not boys, we're frickin' girls." But who is she talking about when she says we? Because she thinks that Nia is the one that hurt her. So who is this we? It's obviously she's talking about her and Maddie, and her, Maddie, and Kenzie. She's not speaking about Nia, putting them in an unnecessary othering position, comparing and contrasting where it's not necessary.
The child was not injured. Melissa needs to get a better balance of how to deal with these situations.
So I had originally forgotten about this clip, to be totally honest with you. I forgot it existed. I really did not remember this even happening. So thank you to the person who commented on my TikTok to remind me about it. I appreciate you. But this was very problematic. This was very racist for a number of reasons. And again, it just fits in the same way that she framed Asia as the bully, as the aggressor, as the mean one, is the same way she tried to paint Nia as the aggressor, as the mean one, putting them both into that sapphire trope where they are relentless, they are masculine, they are aggressive, they're going to do whatever it takes to get their way, even though that is not what happened in either situations. Just to paint her daughters as the superior in some context, right? Like giving into those stereotypical white supremacist tropes that like black people are a little bit just, they're just more aggressive, they're gonna do things, underhanded things to win, they're gonna do things that white people wouldn't. And it's just disgusting because they were literally children. I want to thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the first installment in this series, and I hope to see you back for the next installment. But if you want early access and you want to watch it before anyone else is able to, then you can go on and follow the links in the description to become a patron of my Patreon, where subscriptions start as low as $5 a month, and you get early access to all of my content, including breakdowns like this one, all of my podcast episodes about true crime without propaganda, because we do not like propaganda on this channel, and also Black Canadian history that is often not talked about because it makes the government look bad and they don't really want to do that. So oftentimes the content and the topics that I cover are not parts of school curriculums anywhere in the country, which is unfortunate, but still important to talk about nonetheless. So thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you next time.